speakers, which is Shelley Bossy and Laura Glick, and they'll be talking about Beautiful Minds, coalitions, as well as a covenant prospering church. And give me 1 second. So I will go ahead and pass this forward to Shelley and Laura, and they will definitely introduce themselves. And I'm going to go and test my headset here.
Yes,
For
sir.
some reason, I'm getting a little bit of feedback.
And sir, we
So,
also need the codes.
yep, and the code for this session is going to be 17. It is 17. Now, once again, as our housekeeping, this session code or for CEUs will not be posted on the chat session. Nope. So please disregard from putting the CEUs in there. We will definitely give you the ending CEU numbers at the very end. If you have further questions about the ECU numbers, then you can click on the web link that is posted right now. Thank you so much. And Shelley, why don't you take it away?
Thank you so much for that introduction, and thank you for having us here today. Laura and I are so excited to be here and be a part of Pathways to Hope, as well as part of this community. I've been coming to Pathways from its beginning. I found that I always walk away learning something new and finding some new energy for mental health advocacy and connecting with this advocacy with the faith community. So it's so exciting. I want to start us out with a mindful moment. This will help get our brains ready, especially coming off possibly the lunch hour. So what I want you to do is I invite you to take a moment right now to check your posture. How are you sitting or standing? Find a comfortable posture for you. Close your eyes and gaze down. Take a gentle breath in through your nose, and as you breathe out, tune in to see what's going on in your mind. What thoughts, feelings, and emotions are there bubbling under the surface? Exhale and relax your jaw. Lower your shoulders, lift your chest up, and feel your spine lengthening as you allow your neck to float up and be long. Smile with your eyes and appreciate how graceful and poised you look. Turn your attention to your breath and start to notice how you are breathing. Let your breath be soft and gentle. Don't change the way you're breathing. Just observe the way your breath flows in, around, and through your body. Keep your jaw relaxed. Slowly open your mouth and silently whisper the word ah as you breathe out. See how long you can keep going whispering ah before you naturally start to breathe in. And on your next exhale, open your mouth a bit wider and quietly say aloud another round of ahs. Allow your ah sound to be longer and go deeper and deeper into your body. I'll let you do that for a couple times. Ah. Good. Notice what has changed about the way you feel and observe the sensations and impressions flowing through your body and mind. Now, wiggle your fingers and toes and slowly open your eyes and breathe normally. And I welcome you back to the session. Today, we're here to talk about our church's journey. And it's just that, it's a journey. It's still going and we're still learning. And hopefully today you learned something from us, but we also learned something from you. So just a little bit about our church. Our church is Covenant Presbyterian. It's it's in North Central San Antonio in the Castle Hills city limits. It's been in the Castle Hills community for about 50 years, so it's pretty well established. So our objectives for today for this session is to explain the role of community education of mental health issues, the role it has in creating a positive and safe environment for spiritual learning and worship. And we're going to explain how a church's outreach and mission work can further community education of mental health issues, and explain how inclusivity needs to be structured for the safety of all involved. In other words, acknowledging the importance of boundaries and self-awareness as part of belonging and having a plan for when things aren't working well. So those are our objectives. But first, I want to tell you a little bit about the organization that we have at Covenant Presbyterian. It's called the Beautiful Minds Coalition. It's a mental health ministry or a mental health advocacy group. It started in January of 2016. We tried different names at first, like Covenant Stigma Busters and other things like that, but Beautiful Minds just stuck with us. I mean, we all believe that the mind is a beautiful thing, and that's why it stuck with us, Beautiful Minds. I'll share our origin story in a minute, but I want to talk to you about a little bit about our current members and previous members, and all that they come to this group with lived experience, either through a family member or their own lived experience. So we bring a lot of passion to our work. My own story is an example. My mother lives with bipolar disorder. And growing up in the 50s and 60s, there wasn't a lot of education and there was a lot of stigma. She wasn't able to get the help that she needed, and this led to a lot of struggles, as many of us on this platform know all too well today. Growing up, I watched her struggle, and it was difficult. She was able to be formally diagnosed in her 50s and got some treatment, but there was still stigma, and there's still stigma today. I joined Beautiful Minds to help break the stigma and increase awareness, and I did it for my mom. Many people look to their faith communities for assistance and for hope. And so why not a group like Beautiful Minds or something similar exist in a faith community? We currently have 7 active members, including our pastor. And our goal is to break the stigma of mental illness and do it through education and making mental health an open, normal, ongoing topic of discussion within the congregation, the church as a whole, but also the greater community. The creation of this much needed grassroots organization, though, occurred because we had 2 suicides in our congregation. We lost 2 beautiful individuals, and it broke our hearts. We all felt like we'd failed them because, as open and friendly as we thought we were as a congregation, they obviously felt enough stigma that they did not know how to come forward. And we didn't have the knowledge or the tools needed to reach out to them. That low point of the emotional life of our congregation is truly what birthed the need and desire to create such an organization as the Beautiful Minds Coalition. No one should have to suffer in silence. Or what is the point of even having a faith community? So our pastor started having conversations, and one church member kind of took the lead. She was our first chair. They both recognized the hurt that our church was going through and recognized the need to better serve those struggling with mental illness. So they had conversations with people and got a group together. And this group came together to talk about what the group was going to be like and our mission and our vision and what we were going to do. And so the next thing I'm going to talk to you about some things that we did that worked for our church, worked for our faith community, and perhaps will work for yours as well. But these are just some ideas. First, though, in the summer of 2016, we decided that we would first survey our congregation about mental health, and we received many thoughtful responses, which guided our initial work, which involved monthly newsletter articles. These articles were not just your typical articles about different mental illnesses, but they also talked about change and grief and anything that has to do with mental wellness or mental health. It wasn't just about the different mental illnesses. We wanted to make sure that we were covering everything. We also taught a youth mental health first aid course. We have a member that is certified in teaching that course. And so we offered 3 classes. We ended up teaching 20 of our church members, but also some of the community also joined us, which was really great. We hope that one day we can also offer the adult mental health first aid class so that we can expand that education as well. Our pastor, who, like I said, is a member of Beautiful Minds Coalition, Also took the mental health issue to our regional offices around the state of Texas, and even through the different states, and then onto a national level within the Presbyterian Church USA. And on the national level, it has now gotten, it's gone national and has gotten attention, and now there's grants and things involved and committees that are involved with mental health on the national level, which is great. We also designed and led Sunday school classes such as Healthy Aging, a document out of the Presbyterian Church called Comfort My People, Faith Witnesses and Stories of Grace, all of them where mental health and faith, all of them involved where mental health and faith intertwine, and offered those to our church. We also observed May as Mental Health Awareness Month. We had lots of activities, one of those being in the picture that you're seeing there on the slide of manicures. And our church members came out. We set up in the narthex, or the lobby of the church, and came out and we painted fingernails green to symbolize 1 in 5 minds, because we all know that 1 in 5 of us struggle with mental health concerns or mental health issues. And so we wanted to symbolize that. And it was great because what had happened is they would go out to lunch or they would go somewhere and someone would ask, why is your finger painted green? And start this great conversation about mental illness and mental health awareness. And so we did things like that. We also highlighted September as Suicide Awareness Month, and we participated in the Out of Darkness Walk. And the Out of Darkness Walk is something very special because the 2 people that we lost, the 2 beautiful souls, we walked as a congregation. There were several of us that got together and wore similar shirts and walked together for them as part of the Out of Darkness Walk, and that was very special. We also, though, target kids, and the way we do that is we had a movie night with Inside Out, Disney's Inside Out, which is a great movie that talks about emotions. And it's so important that you talk about that emotions are okay to have. Happiness, contentness, anger, frustration, that it's okay to have those emotions. And through this movie, we were able to have those conversations with our kids at Covenant. Next, we, of course, as a group, always attend Pathways to Hope. So we're attending that this year. And this year, we're actually getting to speak, which is very exciting. One thing we did 3 years ago is we reached out to NAMI and we said, hey, we want to host. We want to host you guys. And so we ended up hosting NAMI's basics course, their family to family course, and their peer-to-peer course. Of course, we're not doing that right now because of COVID-19, but we were able to do that up to that point. We also began serving as the host location for the NAMI luncheons and participated in the NAMI Walk annually as a coalition. And we invited members of the community and our church to also do that walk with us. And then we have a small mental health resource a small mental health resource center in our church library that also is available for our church members. Some other stuff that we've done, another special thing we've done is the Service of the Longest Night. It's held on December 21st, and it's for those that are grieving or struggling and those wishing to be a support to them. It's this very special night, quiet service that anyone can attend. We're going to have it again this year. And like I said, it's for those that are grieving, that have loss, or those that are just struggling to come together and have support and not be alone. We also, after a while, initiated mental health moments during the worship services. And these usually go with the newsletter for that month. And so what we try to do is we try to take what we wrote in the newsletter and highlight some piece of it during worship service. It usually takes 2 to 5 minutes. It's something nice and simple, but has really made an impact on our congregation. We also have Mental Health Monday post on Covenant's Facebook page to reach the wider community, and that can involve all kinds of different aspects of mental health and mental wellness and mental illness. And another thing that we participated in is, or 2 other things rather, is the Fall Harvest Festival at Covenant, which involves, again, kids, and we had a booth talking about emotions and activities and art that they could do. And we also participated at Fiesta at Castle Hills. And we had another booth that had crafts and activities, but we also had a banner behind us, and it's in that picture up on the side that said, "It's okay to say." And I don't know if you've heard this before, but it's okay to say, and then they would put a Post-it note up there to say, "I'm happy, I'm sad, I don't feel well. It's okay to say I'm not okay." And people would put different Post-it notes up there, kids and adults alike, and it was very popular. So we've done things like that to really increase the conversation and make it a normal conversation that we can have, that we can talk about mental health issues. The latest thing that we've done is we held a 2-hour session on adverse childhood experiences, which I highly recommend. Adverse childhood experiences and trauma are the #1 risk factor for mental illness. And so it's really important that we have that education in our community, and we felt it important that we hosted at Covenant in our faith community, and we invited community as well as our church members to attend. So we've done all that, but what's been our response? Well, we've had dozens of members and visitors begin talking to the pastor, coming up to the pastor and talking about mental health challenges. We've had dozens of people come and speak openly in the congregation or in classes, on Sunday school classes, about mental health and the challenges they face as individuals and families. We also have a youth-led Sunday service that happens every May. In May of 2019, the group of youth that did it really wanted to focus on mental health, and we felt so excited about that because it was their choice, and they had seen the work that we had done and wanted to focus on it, and so that was really exciting. Our community has been very positive and receptive. Those who've shared stories in class have later shared updates with Beautiful Mind members. Those connections would not have happened unless something like Beautiful Minds or something like a committee, a mental health committee, existed. Those would not have happened. There's many times that someone has come up to one of us, and sometimes with tears in their eyes, and just said thank you. And that's all they needed to say. We have made an impact, but we know that we've got to go further, and our work is not done. And so now I'm going to hand it over to Laura to talk about how our work has changed in COVID-19.
Thank you, Shelley. Okay, so I guess if you can advance the slide.
Yes.
Thank you. Okay, so during COVID-19, things have changed a little bit, just like they have for everyone. And what we've done is that we have focused on educating our members about anxiety and depression symptoms that they might be feeling due to the fear of the virus and the isolation of the stay home, stay safe orders. So even people who weren't suffering from anxiety and depression earlier, they might have started having some symptoms because of COVID-19. And so we increased education on that. We've also emphasized self-care, mindfulness, staying connected to family and friends. And, you know, more people now really understand just how fragile mental health can be. It doesn't take a lot to get just a little bit too far to the hopeless side, and then you have to really navigate your mental health and your mental wellness. You really have to pay attention to it. We also asked volunteers to make weekly calls to some of our most susceptible members. And we trained these volunteers in basic mental illness warning signs of anxiety and depression, so that you know, they would check in with these people and get the pastor involved if there needed to be some pastoral counseling. And we do hope that we can go back to hosting NAMI and providing educational opportunities for the community once COVID passes. Hopefully it passes and groups are able to meet in person again. But like Shelley mentioned, you know, we've had a great response in our congregation with what we've done so far. And part of the reason for us to present now is to be part of the conversation of bringing this outside of our church, since we have accomplished some of our goals of opening up our own congregation to these ideas and breaking the stigma within our congregation. Now it's time to grow a little bit and go beyond our congregation. And that's part of the reason why we're here. So we are a small church. We're only 300 members. You know, like Shelley said, we're well established. We've been in the community a long time, but we are only 300 members. And so what I'm going to talk about next is how to get started with a mental health advocacy or mental health ministry group in your faith community. Next slide, please. Okay, so first, and this isn't on the slide, sorry about that, but first you want to know what you want to accomplish as a group. So what we focused on was breaking the stigma and making sure that our congregation was educated and more accepting and was able to share. And we can look back and see how far we've come and the activities, and we know because of the activities that we've offered and that, you know, people have come forward to the pastor and to us, whereas before nobody really talked about it. So basically what I'm saying is you need to make sure that your goals are measurable. You need to have those. It's great to write them down, and that way you have something to review every year so that you know, are we making progress? Because I have to tell you, change does not happen overnight. We've been doing this since 2016, and it did take a long time. And sometimes in the beginning, we didn't think that we were making a difference. But once it started to really click with people, once the ball got rolling, really rolling, then, people in the congregation were doing it without us. They were sharing their stories without us having to prompt them. So, that's a really good feeling. But it does take time. Change doesn't happen overnight, especially when you're trying to change minds or hearts. It takes time. And that means that you have to be in it for the long haul. So now your pastor needs to at least be supportive of your efforts. It's best if the pastor is a committed partner to your efforts. So you need to get pastor buy-in. One of the things that I think some groups have that we don't is there might be a disconnect with the pastor on how to talk about mental health. We were very blessed that our pastor was in it from the beginning, and is very, very gung-ho about these issues. And some churches, some groups are not going to have that, and so you're going to have to figure out what you can do. And it might be that educating your pastor is your first step to get the buy-in necessary to get started. So the second thing really is know that you shouldn't go it alone. When you are first trying to get this started, you're going to need to choose a few people, just like with our pastor and the one person who was the chair. Together, they started inviting different people in the congregation to join, and they established a core group. And after establishing a core group who all felt like this needed to happen, who then that group had buy-in, then you can open it up to the wider congregation and see who else wants to join the effort that you've already established. And that way you don't have 9 people all having different ideas about what to do. But you do need a group. You cannot do this alone. Okay, so, and also like Shelley mentioned, one of the first things that we did was we created a survey. And what you need to do with that kind of a survey is ask questions of the members of the congregation, how they feel about mental illness, if somebody they know has a mental illness, and where they would place their knowledge of mental illness on a 1 to 10 scale. And you can also use that survey as a means of, asking people to join the group too, because the people who, we left a little space on the survey. If you want to join the group, or if you want to talk to one of us, leave your name. And so people could make it not anonymous too, if they wanted to. And really, from the surveys that we've done, I think we've done 2 surveys, I think. The information that we got back was so beneficial to figuring out what we needed to do as a group for the church. And really, that is because you need to start with your audience and what they need. You have to start at the point of need. And so, we knew on one part that we needed to break stigma, but on the other side, we needed to know just how much the members of our congregation knew, so that we knew at what point to educate. Okay, and also using the church newsletter. Also, like Shelley said, it's not just about talking about mental illness and describing what the illnesses are. It's also about recovery, and it's about hope, and it's about belonging. There's so many topics that you can bring into mental health and wellness. We've brought in a lot of mindfulness, a lot of let's see, my brain is going for a second. Yeah, we've brought in mindfulness topics. We've brought in things that are considered like life hacks, ways to get yourself into a better mood, for example, different coping skills. There's so many different topics that you can write on. And don't think that just because you're not a writer doesn't mean that you can't do a newsletter article. Anybody can do a newsletter article, especially if, as a group, you read each other's work and help each other out. Another great thing to do if you're trying to do this mental health ministry is bring it into worship. And that is part of the reason why having the pastor as part of the group is in my eyes essential. So what we do is we have the 3 to 5 minute mental health moment in worship each month, and that can be a video clip, which is really engaging. It can be role playing, which we've done a few times. We've even recited poetry that was to a mental health topic. And again, making those kinds of things active is what really helps people engage. Let's see, also the pastor having part of the prayer, the pastoral prayer, be for those living with mental health conditions and the caretakers of those living with mental health conditions. And then also for the pastor in preaching, looking for opportunities to discover how Scripture speaks to the lives of those living with mental health conditions and those who care for them. So, people are used to looking to the pastor for guidance and really for modeling the life of the faithful. And so the pastor can do a lot from the pulpit for breaking stigma and making people feel like they belong, that they are included. Okay, and also using social media. Next slide, please. Thank you. Using social media. Now, we have only been using social media at Covenant for, I think, the past 1.5 years as far as putting things on Facebook. We're really I gotta be honest, we're really not very good at it yet. We keep trying. It's hard to be consistent when everybody has a day job. Yeah, you can tell probably that I'm the one who is doing the weekly, which has become bi-weekly postings for our Mental Health Monday. So yeah, we try to do social media, and we are getting better at it. And I think that because of COVID, that's one good thing about COVID-19 is that it has forced everybody to get better with technology and to reach people through technology. And I think that we've done a good job of embracing technology through this, because we are a small church and we didn't do anything with technology before, and now it's really part of what we do and how we reach people. So one good thing about social media is that people can share that, and that gets out to the wider community. So teaching Sunday school courses, it depends on what your church prefers, of course, but it can be anything from an examination of grief in the Bible and how people move through grief. Recently, we did a half-day workshop on feeling grace and gratitude in your life, and that benefits mental health too. There are lots of topics. You can get creative and work with your church's education team. And we have an older church, like Shelley mentioned, we had, I think, one of our most successful Sunday schools was Healthy Aging, because it pretty much started with the anxiety and depression that can come with middle age, all the way through to the mental illnesses that people have at end of life and end of life care. And so, bringing in hospice and stuff like that. So people loved that. And I think that we would probably need to do that again, and maybe even, this is the first time Shelley's hearing it, but maybe bring that out into the public, record the sessions maybe next time. And, again, because of COVID-19, doing what we did, which was hosting NAMI, it might take a while for that to come back, but just keep in mind different ways that your church, your faith community can reach out to the people who are doing good work for mental health in your city, and try to partner with them, bring them in, offer them a place to meet. Just partnering can be such a rich experience. It has been for us. And again, like Shelley said that we do at Covenant, observing May as Mental Health Awareness Month, and the first week in October as Mental Illness Awareness Week. Again, make those things action-oriented. Get those out into the community. Have people do activities like the manicure. That really gets people looking at it. Sometimes if you're just talking, they don't come by and engage. But if you have an activity, they're more likely to engage. And if you're lucky, you could offer a mental health first aid. Oh, I skipped planning and leading a service of the longest night. That is a very difficult time of the year for many people, and it can be particularly difficult for those living with a mental health condition and their families, because so much of the celebrating during the winter holidays is all about joy, 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 and sometimes you're not feeling it, and you need to go where people can understand that you might be in pain at that time of the year, and yearning for hope. And having people tell you that you should be more joyful isn't going to do it for you. And so having that kind of service of the longest night where people can come and be together in a more solemn place and share what they're going through. That is a really good opportunity. And again, that's one of those things that started slow for our church. And we really got some traction this past year. And then, of course, with COVID, we don't know if we're going to be able to do it in person or not. So, but we're going to try to see if we can do it, how we can do it. Next slide.
Lori?
Yes.
Yeah, I have a quick question on the the longest night. Is there typically a date when that actually happens? That sounds very
Yeah, it's the
interesting.
winter solstice. It's December 21st, which is literally the longest night of the year.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. Solstice.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah,
Well,
so it's kind of a symbolic darkest night of the soul, longest night of the year.
nice.
So,
Well, there was
yeah.
a comment that was made, and I love the fact that even though the church has been around for 50 plus years, the congregation's 300. You guys really are providing a very out of the box program that are not being offered in congregations that's much larger, whether it's here in San Antonio or across the nation. So kudos to your pastor and to your team for really, having a heart for mental health awareness. And I'm just loving all the information that you guys are providing.
That's great. Thank you.
Yeah, and just
Thank you.
with that being said, I do want to just take a quick little pause. If you weren't able to be on the call after our 25-minute break before Shelley started, the CEU code for the very beginning is 1717. Write that down, and Shelley will probably go ahead and share some of those CEU codes along the way, just for a quick little breather to make sure that those codes are being obtained. Thank you.
All right. Okay. Let's see. All right. Okay, with offering a mental health first aid course, again, we were very lucky that we had somebody who was certified to teach that at our church. But you can always go to mentalhealthfirstaid. Is it .com or .org? I think it's .org. mentalhealthfirstaid.org, and look at what they have to offer. And I think there are various people who are able to come to your church or community and teach those classes. So again, that's mentalhealthfirstaid.org. You can also participate in a NAMI walk, and that is a great team building exercise. It might be a good way for you to get started before you get started, because you can invite a bunch of people from your congregation to participate in a NAMI walk, and you pretty much know that the people who come out for that are the ones who are a little bit more dedicated to mental health. So you'll be able to pick your team from some of those people, and then they can pick some people that they know to bring into the team. So it's a good team building exercise. Also, creating the display of NAMI brochures and information about local mental health services. It's really important that that is not tucked away somewhere. That's one thing that we as a church have wanted to do a little bit better, is that we have that in our library right now, but we want to be able to have it out somewhere where people from the community can come by and grab that when they need it, and where it is available all week long to everyone. And currently, the library is closed because the church is closed. And so we want to make sure that that kind of information is most available. So we're looking at different ways to do that. for the future. And then because September is Suicide Prevention Awareness Month, you have a great opportunity to get started next month. Actually, get started now for next month with suicide prevention awareness. And what you can do with that is you can go to suicidepreventionlifeline.org and look at the various resources that they have for awareness and education about suicide. And use their hashtags in all of your social media. Just paste it everywhere for the month of September. And if you can get a team of dedicated folks to do that, that would be great. And that's a great first start if you want to get started now. Next slide. Okay, some things to consider. Inclusivity needs to be structured for the safety of all involved. In other words, acknowledging the importance of boundaries and self-awareness as part of belonging and having a plan for when things aren't working well. For example, some people don't like to be touched, much less hugged by strangers. So being overly friendly, especially to people who are guests at the church, this is their first time there, and somebody comes over for a big hug and they're like, they kind of back away. People need to realize that not everybody wants to be hugged, not everybody wants to be touched. And extroverts need to realize that they should not feel rejected if they don't get a hug. So just talking about these basic differences helped in our congregation open the discussion to neurodiversity and brought people in at a level that they were able to access from personal experience. And some of our most extroverted people were like, oh, I didn't know that I was making you feel uncomfortable. I'm so sorry. But now, now that conversation was opened and now they know. And so, these things can be good, but that's about knowing about boundaries and making sure that people feel safe. Your group can explore and teach about those differences to talk about various boundaries. And boundaries and inclusion are also important when leading classes where the sharing of deeply personal information is encouraged. You need to be sure to announce that they are private discussions and not to be shared outside the group. And we need to honor people's boundaries in sharing too. Some people are willing to share immediately and others take a long time to open up, and both are okay. Both people belong. Everyone is included. All right, and I think we're ready for some Q&A on that.
All right, Shelley and Lori, thank you so much for sharing. That was extremely helpful. I'm actually very proud to live in San Antonio and not live too far from Covenant Presbyterian Church. I might just have to go out there and check that out. A great resource for the community. I have a notepad full of lots of great information. One question that we have here is your PowerPoint slide. Would that be made available so that others could kind of follow the steps that you guys have put together so diligently?
Sure, that we could definitely make that available.
Okay, thank you very much. Give me a second. All right, so we'll make that available. I will definitely check with Nowcast to see how we can make that available during maybe one of our websites.
Great, thank you.
So what we'll do is we'll just wait a moment. If there's anyone needs to get a quick drink like myself, on the right-hand side, there's an open chat like we did earlier. And we'll just kind of bounce this back between Lori and Shelley. And
all right.
again,
I'm going to break in real quick with that code for those who are taking the CEU. I know how important it is for y'all to get that. The ending code is 24. That is 2424. And the link should be on the chat on the right. Thank you so much.
All right, thanks so much.
So one additional thing that I could say is that it really does depend for your group, who shows up, you know. So who shows up to be a member of the group that you're putting together, because that's going to really affect what you do. You know, we started from the gifts and talents and skills of the people who wanted to be part of the group. And as new people come into the Beautiful Minds Coalition, we have new capabilities. And, you know, like with any group that, you know, we've existed for 4 years now, 4.5 years. And so, you know, people have been that one slide of the 7 original members. We've had some people who have left, work has gotten really busy for them, and then some other people who just recently joined and who have great experience in the mental health field. And so, you know, the more experienced people you have, the more you can do, the further you can go.
Wonderful. So we do have a question that's here, and I'll
Okay.
read it out loud, and then between both of you, we can kind of tag team a little bit. So when getting started with a program like this, how do you bring it into the worship if getting in front of a congregation of nearly and possibly our church has about 1,500 people in its congregation, so we would multiply the 300 times 3 or 4 or 5. What are some out of the box thinking that we could probably consider introducing that into worship experience?
That's different from what we did as a group of 300. I think at first you could just do a lot of the same things, like
Yeah.
like we have our mental health moment where we have the, you know, a 3 to 5 minute video clip or
Mm-hmm,
something like
mm-hmm,
that.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And those video clips are great because then after services, when people go to, you know, get the noshables and the coffee and everything, that's oftentimes what they talk about. They talk about the video clip they saw, or they talk about the skit that was performed on
Nice.
stage, or, you know. So it's still kind of similar. You just have to think more broadly, you know, for
Right.
a larger audience.
Yeah, I personally like what you guys are doing using a different type of media, right? Doing the videos, role playing, sharing maybe a personal experience, a testimony, and maybe
Mhm.
intentionally finding some worship songs that really talks about recovery, hope and peace, like, you know, and definitely sharing, um, just like you mentioned. I think that definitely would work with a congregation that is small as well as large. So thank you for sharing that. All right. Another question we have here is, what's the social media handles for your group or organization? Do you guys do it, or do you have a preferred method of social media?
Laura, I'll let
You
you take
know,
that question.
Mhm.
yeah, I would have to actually go. I have it all saved. I can't remember. It's I think it's just at Covenant Cares
Okay.
is our Facebook.
Yeah, I believe
And
that's right.
covenantcares.org is our website.
And do you guys have this also maybe on Instagram, or is Facebook your go-to social media?
Yeah, Facebook is it right now.
Okay.
But you know, like I said, we're growing. We got into the social media game a little bit late.
Okay.
Um, so we're still learning about what's best and how to
Mhm.
keep it consistent,
Wonderful. Okay. Do you think
especially
it?
when you have a small team.
Yeah. Next question here. Do you think it would be possible to create such a mental health group for university students, Christians? And if so, do you have any tips that we could share? I think it's a very targeted audience, those who are transitioning right, from high school and going maybe to university setting, because everything is so much more broadly in that case. So, what are some thoughts around that?
Hmm.
Yeah, how to do this specifically for a college crowd? Is that
Mm-hmm.
essentially the question?
Mm-hmm. For university students, um, maybe a thought that I have on that is reaching out to a college or university, see if
Yeah.
they have a dedicated, um, group club that is faith-based, and maybe that could be introduced that way. And the person who
Yeah,
asked that question is Deborah. Deborah, does that help a little bit, or maybe you can expand a little bit more on that question?
yeah, because
Yeah,
I
that's what
think
I was thinking.
most colleges have some kind of student organization that will help with mental health. And there's also like all the different churches that are around a university,
Hmm.
for example, like University Presbyterian, that kind of,
Hmm.
they usually have some outreach for the college students. So yeah, it would be checking in with those groups,
Nice.
but especially if one of those churches wanted to, um, start something specifically about mental health, that would
Mhm.
be great.
Yeah,
I
that would be.
Yes, I totally
Yeah.
agree there. Now, I guess as a spinoff, um, is this a curriculum and program that was birthed locally here? I think we did hear that it's been acknowledged from the greater venues of the Presbyterian Church. Are the other Presbyterian churches statewide and nationally, are they using a similar model at their own congregations?
No,
Right
I
now, oh, go ahead, Shelley.
no, go ahead, Laura.
Yeah, it actually happened separately. So
Yeah.
what happened was when we had the 2 suicides in our congregation, that's
Hmm.
when the Beautiful Minds was formed as a
Right.
response to that.
Right.
And then it was after that that we, I guess it was in 2018, um, along with I think it's Hope Presbyterian in Austin. We
Mhm.
were talking with them, and our pastor and their pastor was talking about um, a document that had been produced by the Presbyterian Church that talked about mental health and how it was something that we really needed to, get more involved in, do something about, and it outlined all these great steps. And then they realized, well, that document is 10 years old. How come we're not doing this? How come this hasn't like come into the fore more? And so then that conversation, was parallel to what was happening with the Beautiful Minds. And our pastor, Dan Milford, was able to take that, um, along with the pastor from Hope Presbyterian, to the national level, to the General Assembly, and get things started from there as well.
Very nice.
Yeah.
There's a question here focused more on millennials. Is there any thoughts on how we could grow this through social media, whether it's Facebook? Well, let me rephrase that. Facebook is for old folks now, according to my children. But for Instagram, I have a little note here about TikTok, but that's very
Mhm.
controversial right now. But is there something that maybe we can kind of think about? How can we reach that younger generation? And I definitely want to open that to both of you since you're kind of our subject matter experts. But if there's anyone out there that may have some ideas, right, that we can add to
Right.
our conversation, we're definitely are welcome to hear from that. We definitely have professionals, social workers, LPCs on this
Mhm.
phone call, and that we're again, this is kind of a dialogue we'd love to hear from Shelley and Lori, but anyone is welcome to share within reason.
I think, that social media aspect's going to be a big thing with that age group. Doing an Instagram, Twitter,
Mm.
possibly even TikTok. Like you said, it's a little bit controversial right now, but I think that's going to be big to get that going. And then also finding organizations that you can partner with that are youth driven, like out of school time organizations.
Mhm.
I can't think of one right now, but just seeing who you can partner with to get the like NAMI has a youth organization that they do with Young Minds Matter. So it's things like that.
Nice,
Yeah,
very good.
I also think that it's I think millennials and Generation Z, is that the generation after millennials? I'm losing track. I'm not part of either of those. But I think they're more open to the idea of mental health. The stigma really wasn't so much in them. I think they get it. I
Mhm,
think they get that it's important.
mhm,
It's just a matter of getting the positive messages of hope to them, because especially with social media as a double-edged sword, it has such a positive force, but it can also be what
Mhm.
allows bullies 24/7. And that can really have a negative impact on
mhm.
someone's mental health. So I think they know, I think they get it, and it's just making sure that they get those messages of
Mhm,
hope
mhm,
and belonging.
mhm,
Um, and that's what we have to put out there for
mhm.
them.
I totally agree. I think that me personally, thinking back 30, 40 years ago, and even today, there might be that stigma that we're still working through it. But being a dad of two adults, I've definitely had conversation about mental health and important things of that. And I think as long as the families are open to discuss it, whether it's through experiences personally or through extended experiences, it makes it a little bit easier to kind of maybe crack the code, if that makes sense. I do have a suggestion, a couple of things here, if that's okay with Shelley and Laura. Laura?
Mhm.
So
Sure.
Dan shares here might help the college crowd to have a core team of people who can provide guidance, consistency over time, since college students come and go so quickly. Um,
Wow.
so I think that would be very, very helpful, and definitely NAMI San Antonio is a great resource. There are some educational programs that are dedicated, like an 8-week course, but then there are weekly support groups that really talks about here and now, and that is called NAMI Connection. So thanks, Dan, for sharing that. Um, Meredith says millennials are good. Thanks for sharing that. But Gen Z is better at social media. So
Yeah.
Mm.
having an adult who can guide a younger person in maintaining social gives them a way to help others engage in mental health through helping host the social media accounts and even accountability. I think individuals of our age who really have a heart for young ones really kind of becomes more like a coach, right? And mentoring the young ones. So thank you, Meredith, for sharing that.
Yeah, and
Mary,
actually
go ahead.
telehealth and doing mental health coaching and companionship and all of that over Zoom and all of these things. I think that is also one of the ways that COVID-19 is actually helping us, because we're getting over those hurdles of having to make an appointment to meet in person.
Mm,
It's like we find that we can do it when we have to. And so, yeah, I think meeting online and being that companion or hope coach,
mm,
was one of the last presenters. Those things are really helping, and
mhm.
yeah, they've just taken off since COVID-19.
Great. One of the things that I love about the slides that both of you shared is that we're walking away really feeling with a sense of number one, hope, and also a sense of non-judgment. And I think there's another stigma that people may have, that if there's a support that's surrounded around mental health in a Christian or faith-based organization, what will they think about me? You know, am I going to get through it only through the traditional prayers? And I think the other gentleman has shared that earlier, but I love the fact that both of you are, you know, are sharing just a very non-judgmental approach, and it is welcome, you know, for the community, and everyone just really strives for hope and peace. So thank you so much for sharing that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah. So I show on my little Mickey here. We're going at 2:05. This session will be wrapping up in about 10 minutes. I'm going to take a quick little advertisement break here for you folks who are here to learn and take away your CEU codes. The number for the ending of this session is 2424. That says 24. And if you missed it earlier, it's 1717. I kind of feel like we're playing bingo here. All right. So
Bingo.
yes. So let's just do a little engagement game here. If you're still with me, go ahead and type the word bingo. Let's type bingo in here. It's a great, you know, laughter definitely is a great tool, right, for hope and peace.
Yes.
I'm going to raise my
Yes, it
hand for a
is.
moment here just to turn the lights back on. Great, wonderful. And we're just going to wait here. Thank you, Ben, for playing bingo. Oh, there goes all my bingo players.
Oh, that's great.
There we go.
There you go. Very good. We have a bunch of sense of humors here. We love
We
it.
all get bingo.
We all hit bingo. Yeah. All right. So, Lauren, Shelley's, are there any last closing thoughts that you'd like to share as
Yes.
we're wrapping things up here?
Yes, I have one. And that is, again, just to stress that each congregation, and, you know, if it's not a congregation, if it's a civic organization that, you know, you want to start a group like this out of, really what you need to do is pay attention to the group that you're working for, and start at their point of need. So, for example, if you have a lot of millennials in the congregation, then, you know, during that survey, find out what they need, what issues they want to talk about, and then serve them. And if you have a lot of active military in your congregation, you know, then maybe you will end up doing a lot more on PTSD and suicide prevention and, you know, more things like that. You know, so really it is about who you're serving. It's not about really what you have in mind to do because some other church did it. It's finding out who is in your congregation who is hurting or who needs to be heard, and, you know, serving them. That's really what it's about.
Thank you. I do have to just echo this. I love the structure, and I think a lot of times it gets a little bit overwhelming, a little bit overtaking when we're dealing with these kind of incidents. Right? It's called life with mental health, and listening is very important. But I think when it's really well planned out, when it's really well structured, and we can identify the strength between the introverts and the extroverts, and we're really being honest about it, it really makes a huge, huge difference. And that's kind of my takeaway with your presentation. It's very well structured. I think it's working very well. I'm excited that you guys are offering this in San Antonio. That's one thing I love about NAMI itself. They provide principles, and if you stick with the principles, if you stick with the structures, it works. It really works. So
Yes, it does.
one more thing, if I can have everyone who's in our session give a big applaud or a thank you, give your last final comments to Shelley and Laura, then we'll go ahead and give everybody a few minutes back. And thank you so very much. And once again, our last code for ending the session is 2424. We'll keep the chat session open. And if you look a little further up, you'll be able to see the link if you did miss either one of those starting or ending code for the CEUs. Thank you both.
Thank
All
you.
right, thank you. Bye.